Hello everyone. Today I will be featuring the Kitakaze, the follow-up that comes after the Akizuki and before the Haruguma. The matchmaking is of course pretty nasty. It's pretty much pure tier 10s. They have two Moskvas, which is a lot of radar, and they have a midway as well, which means carrier presence. So this is going to be a pretty rough game. But honestly, just like the Akizuki, in any tier 9 ship you get very used to facing tier 10 matchmaking. In fact, that's why oftentimes going from tier 8 to tier 9 feels like such a massive upgrade, even though the ship differences might not always be massively significant. You're still facing the same matchmaking, so your ship feels comparatively stronger. Kitakaze though, it's very similar to the Akizuki. They practically look identical. In fact, if you look at the ships, you will see that they have identical hulls, identical turret setups. Everything looks very similar. In fact, they have the same gun range, 12.5. They have the same DPM, the same fire chance, the same everything. Which is kind of strange in the sense that they are also both just as slow. Even though the Kitakaze is supposedly a further development of the Akizuki class, quoting Wargaming's own words, and supposed to have a higher top speed, because that was kind of part of the improvement over the Akizuki, was that it's supposed to be a faster ship. But in game, they're actually both 33 knot DDs. And 33 knots is obviously very slow for a destroyer. It's slow at tier 8, and it certainly is slow at tier 9. And they also have the same awkward turning circle of 730 meters. Which is kind of amusing that the 730 meter turning circle actually feels pretty nimble after having played the Haruguma. Concealment, familiar 5.9 km with stealth build. Honestly, in fact, rather than list all the things that are identical, which is pretty much almost everything, I'd rather focus on the differences between this ship and the Akizuki. One of the things you probably noticed just now was the torpedoes. Instead of having one X4 like the Akizuki has, one 4 torpedo launcher, you have one 6 torpedo launcher. And this is of course significant when you pop torpedo booster. So instead of being able to throw out 8 torps, you can saturate the waters with 12 torps. And as you can see, you can actually create some pretty significant spreads with those 12 torps. Also, they actually are Type 93 Mod 3, whereas Akizuki torps are Mod 2. The difference here is that even though they are just as fast, the Kitakaze torps have 12 kilometers of range. They also hit significantly harder, as you'll get an example of right here. The Tashkent eats a torpedo and gets one shot by a single torpedo. This is significant because these torps actually do 23.8k alpha, as opposed to Akizuki's torpedoes that do 20.9. So if I had been an Akizuki in this situation, I would actually not have killed the Tashkent. I would have landed a single torp, and he would be able to heal up a significant amount of the health, and he would still survive. So the difference is obviously there. Now, they're IJN torps though, which means they have the same terrible IJN torp concealment of 1.7 km. So obviously they're not going to be as useful as other torps, but still, almost 24k alpha, 12 km range, 67 knots. They are very, very useful. It does come at a cost though. They have a 157 second reload, which is 45 seconds longer reload than Akizuki's reload. So it is a trade, but it's a trade you happily take. I mean, you gain range, damage, significantly more torps. It's just a fantastic trade. So that's pretty much a raw upgrade in that sense. Then of course we have the fact that since this is a tier 9 ship, compared to the Akizuki, you are able to slot the 6th module. And this is a pretty big deal because your turret traverse is so amazing that when you slot the 6th module, aka the 3 million reload upgrade, which is the one I recommend since fundamentally you are a gunboat. So when you slot that module, you get a 12% DPM increase. So basically you deal 12% more damage than the Akizuki, and because your turret traverse is so good, the downsides of the module doesn't really affect you. So you are even stronger at dealing with other DDs, and here's an example of course. Gearing is giving me broadside, so I stick to AP, and this raw DPM that you can pump out is just far too much for this gearing to deal with, and I have no real issues of killing him either. So gunpowder wise, you can see the torpedo reload there as I launch the torps, how long it takes for my torpedoes to get up again. So very long delay, something to keep in mind. Still though, gunpowder, once again, an upgrade over the Akizuki. Health wise, the increase is actually pretty sad. You have 300 more health than the Akizuki. That's underwhelming, because most of your competition gains a lot more going from tier 8 to tier 9. Changmu gains 1600 health over CN Young. Fletcher gains 1700 health over Benson. Udaloy gains 2700 health over Ognavoy. I mean, even the Z46 and the Yuguma gain 400 health. So in terms of relative upgrades, the Kitakaze's health upgrade over the Akizuki is definitively getting the short end of the stick. So not nearly as impressive as one would hope. There you can see, of course, that amazing torpedo range and the pure alpha, very useful. Still though, the health upgrade pretty pitiful. Still though, it is better than the Akizuki's. It's only 300 health, but once again, it's an upgrade. And there's also the AA. It's been slightly improved. Now I say slightly because it's very slight. The triple 25mm AA guns on the Akizuki have been replaced with dual Bofors 40mm guns. Now that might sound very impressive. Oh my god, you got 40mm Bofors now. But in reality, it just means that the mid-range aura, instead of dealing 43 DPS like on the Akizuki, it deals 66 DPS on the Kitakaze. It also has slightly better range, of course, since higher caliber usually equals that in this game. But with no defensive AA to actually bolster these base values, you won't even notice the difference. You won't, like, I can't tell the difference at all, and I've been playing it a fair amount, even with carriers like here. If any higher tier carrier wants to strike you, there's nothing you can really do about it. So that's pretty much the story of the so-called AA destroyer, just like with the Akizuki. And of course you can't really afford to go any sort of full AA build, because there's so many fundamental perks that you just have to have on this ship. For example, IFHE and concealment, of course, which already 14 points locked down just to reach that point and be able to spec into them. Now, I'm playing pretty careful here. I want to smoke up and shoot this guy, but I don't dare to smoke up as long as the Moskva is within radar range. So I'm actually think I'm going to accelerate and create some distance here. If you're wondering why doesn't he just smoke up and start shooting this Montana, that Moskva being in radar range is the big threat. You really don't want to get radared sitting right next to a Montana. It's a very fast way of exploding. Still though, I like this ship. I think it's... You gotta keep in mind though that I am biased in the sense that I really like the Akizuki. I think the Akizuki is a ton of fun. So you understand that a ship that is basically a gun upgrade and a torpedo upgrade in pretty much, and even slight AA, slight health upgrade, obviously I'm gonna enjoy it. You're facing pretty much the same matchmaking, you're facing tier 10s all the time, which you do in the Akizuki anyway. So it's fun. It's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. I like it a lot more than the Haruguma. I don't have to deal with the awkward concealment and the terrible handling of the Haruguma. Instead, I get to experience an upgrade over the Akizuki, which is of course very enjoyable. It does share many of the Akizuki problems though. It's slow, it's quite clumsy, and of course you have to spec certain perks on it. Not having IFHE means life is extremely awkward. I'm actually going to show... I'm only going to shoot AP here. I'm going to shoot nothing at AP, no, almost nothing but AP here, and you will notice as soon as there's any sort of angling, even though my shells are aiming at the superstructure, the actual damage will be very pitiful. Okay, that is if this Montana would actually angle. Okay, I did record this during the weekend, so I guess we're seeing some weekend battleship gameplay here, always equally impressive. Okay, well, never mind then, let's see, maybe the turrets? Of course, if you use your torps in a situation like this, like I did there, normally I wouldn't recommend that. I would save the torps for until when he gets closer, or if I decide to YOLO him. But look at the score, 970 something. We're just about to win. Anyway, of course, if a battleship angles like this guy is doing, you see what AP does nothing. And this is actually how much damage your HE would do as well, because, well, I have IFHE. So my HE does raw damage here, but if you don't have IFHE, the armor on these superstructures is 19 millimeters, and your HE pen is only 16 millimeters. So if you don't have IFHE spec, you will not be able to deal any damage at all, which is of course why IFHE is pretty much a must-have on these 100 millimeter guns, and it's kind of awkward, because there's almost no build variety. There are almost no build options. You have to get the concealment expert, you have to get the IFHE, and well, then you're down to 5 points left. You have already spent 14 points to spec your captain. You want to get last stand because you're a destroyer. You probably want to get survivability expert because you're a knife fighting gunboat. It's very limited. I can show you my recommended build later, but the amount of customization you have available is very, very limited, and that's one of my major complaints about in general the whole Akizuki Kitakaze Haraguma line. You're very pigeonholed into what you must have to do, and if you don't do it, then your performance will be so much lower that it's not even worth experimenting with alternate builds. Still though, the game ends in a victory. I get a nice chunk of XP, 145k damage, not that much, but then again I did kind of kill 2 destroyers, which in fact if we look at the team score does show on the XP, 2.4k base. Considering it was almost only tier 10 matchmaking and the enemy had a midway aka tier 10 carrier, I'm pretty satisfied, and of course Moscovas and stuff, I'm pretty satisfied with the performance, not to mention it does show that the Kitakaze really doesn't have any issues duking it out with tier 10s. It's better than the Akizuki in every way, and if you love the Akizuki, you'll absolutely love this ship as well. Detailed report, oh, there we go. Surprising amount of torpedo damage, but then again, the torpedoes are fundamentally better than Akizuki's torps. You have more of them, you have better range, you do more damage. With the torpedo booster especially, you can launch some really devastating volleys. It's fun. It's very, very enjoyable. And I only wish, honestly, I wish the Haraguma felt more like an upgrade, but after having played the Kitakaze, playing the Haraguma feels like a downgrade. And if that's not the best possible criticism I can imagine of the Haraguma, I don't know what is. If you go from Akizuki to tier 9 to the Kitakaze, it feels like an upgrade. Then you go to tier 10 to the Haraguma and it feels like a downgrade. Then something really, really went wrong with how they decided to design that ship. They are all, of course, works in progress though, so maybe these things will change. Hopefully they will change. Anyway, let me show you guys the premium camos on the ship as well as my recommended build. Right, might as well quickly show the setup on this ship. Upgrade wise, you should absolutely go for the hull first, because well, the default hull has a pretty awkward rudder shift, as well as of course missing out on a good chunk of health. I would follow that up with the Type 93 Mod 3 torps, aka you upgrade your 10 km torps to these 12 km torps. That would be my follow-up upgrade, followed finally by the range, which is probably the least important, especially if you're still working on a stock ship. F3 torps, I don't recommend them at all. You should never really be in a situation where you think, oh damn, I wish I had F3 torps. The reason for this is, if you're in a knife fight, well, first of all, you should never be close enough in a knife fight that you have to use torps. Second of all, if you're fighting other DDs, you should be gunning them down, not torping them. And you never really want to push in, if you're trying to torp cruisers and stuff, you don't really want to push into sub 8 km to do it, especially in a ship as slow and clumsy as an Akizuki or a Kitakaze, because if you do get radared, you get punished so hard. So the F3s don't really fit this ship at all. You can use them if you want to, but I do not recommend them at all. I think the 12 km torps are much more valuable. Consumable wise, premium repair, followed by, I would say, premium smoke, torpedo booster, and speed boost, in that order, if you want to go for the more expensive consumables. Upgrade wise, turret and torpedo tube survival. Engine survival, you can slot the speed boost mod here as well, that works. I prefer the propulsion mod here though, since I have so many damn ships right now. AA range, acceleration mod, well, on the, it's kind of, which one you choose is kind of up to you. Personally, with how much radar and stuff, I've been starting to use propulsion mod 2 more because, well, you just get, you smoke up, you get radar, you have to accelerate, you have to get the hell out. That kind of situation happens so awkwardly often these days that I've kind of started switching over from steering to propulsion across the board on many destroyers. Concealment, and of course gunpowder. Very straightforward. The good part of the captain is of course that you can use your Akizuki captain. It's a fantastic Akizuki captain is going to be a fantastic Kitakaze captain. Priority target. If I'm gunboating, I want to see how many people are aiming at me. Preventive maintenance works as well. I just prefer the information of priority target more. Last stand. Survivability expert. Concealment expert. That's the base 10 points. 14 points, IFHE, get it as soon as possible. Followed up with 16-point captain AR. Faster torpedo, faster gun reload when you go low health. Very, very valuable. Then you got 3 points left, and honestly, you got a lot of options. You can go for BFT, which is just a raw DPM increase. Perfectly fine. You can go for superintendent. Additional consumable, torp booster, speed boost, smoke. All of these allow you to deal more damage as well. So don't look at this as just a passive consumable, because smoke allows you to gunboat, torpedo reload booster allows you to get more torps off, and speed boost allows you to chase down enemies or run away and so forth. So superintendent, very valuable perk as well. Personally, I went for demo expert. Apologies, because the base fire chance is so very low, especially with IFHE, that I do like the additional damage I can deal to battleships with this fire chance. Is it the best choice? Not necessarily. As I said, any of these three is perfectly fine. Hell, you can even go for vigilance if you find yourself eating torps, but ultimately I would say choose any of the three here as your final choice. The premium camo, let me show you that one. This is the premium camo on the Kitakaze, which actually looks pretty cool. It's actually a pretty good looking camo, I have to give it that. In general though, the ship of course looks very much like the Akizuki. If you like the looks of the Akizuki, you will like the looks... Ooh, this one actually looks even better. If you like the looks of the Akizuki, you will like the looks of the Kitakaze. Ultimately, oh, and flag-wise, fire chance flags, detonation flag, speed flag, you're so slow, you really want that speed, and other than that, just economical flags. You can slot some defensive AA boost, but ultimately, especially at tier 9, this AA really starts lagging behind. Anyway, that was my short Kitakaze commentary. I hope you guys enjoyed it.